Howdy ho folks, CR here, and I will be responding to Piers Morgan in this video. See, it seems like he just hasn't learned his lesson on the AR-15 yet. So, I'm going to do my best to teach him.
Look, here's the example I always give. I cannot buy my favorite chocolate egg in America. It's called Kinder Surprise chocolate eggs because they have little toys inside them which are deemed a health hazard and may choke me to death, right? I can't buy 6 packets of Sudafed because it's illegal in America because people think you're going to be building a Breaking Bad meth lab, right? I can't buy most of the French cheeses that I love eating, as you can see by the size of me. I can't buy most French cheeses because of the bacterial threat to me in America.
And I agree, these are stupid restrictions to have. It's absolutely idiotic that we ban the Kinder Surprise egg because some parents don't know how to watch their children and make sure they're not choking on the toy. I agree with that. That's a stupid rule. That prohibition on more than 6 packets of Sudafed, yeah, I 100% agree. That's totally stupid. It's not going to stop somebody from setting up a meth lab, by the way, which is already illegal to begin with. And, you know, I think if somebody chooses to take the risk in that bacterial infection, I'm not sure exactly what the risks are, what the odds are when eating that French cheese, well, that's on them. They're a responsible grown adult. So yes, I think these restrictions are completely stupid. I think that when you have government officials that are looking to restrict your everyday life for your own good, it leads to bad results. It leads to a loss of freedom. So I'm with you on 100% that those are stupid restrictions.
You can go to Walmart and there'll be a massive, great wall of assault rifles. And I just...
Piers, so I'm going to start off by correcting you because I do believe it's very important we be accurate when we speak. We get accurate information out. So, first off, Walmart doesn't sell assault rifles. Pre-1986 assault rifles are NFA Title II. Post-1986 assault rifles are prohibited from civilian ownership. What you're talking about are firearms such as AR-15s, and by the way, you don't see racks full of them at Walmart's either. Most Walmarts sell firearms, but they're a very limited selection. What you do see when you see racks of AR-15s, you see them in gun stores that, you know, specialize in selling firearms, right? And it's no surprise that you might see several gun stores with a bunch of AR-15s. This is the most popular rifle platform in this country, and for good reason. So, yes, there are going to be FFLs that specialize in selling AR-15s, and they're going to have a bunch of AR-15s. They're a good selling rifle. So, now that we've got that out of the way, I want to address that claim. You know, you can't buy the Kinder Surprise eggs, and you can't buy the French cheese here, but you can buy an AR-15 here, legally. In most states, by the way. There are like a few states that the AR-15 is prohibited in. The reason why we are allowed in many states to be able to own AR-15s is because, and you're not able to purchase a Kinder Surprise egg here or this French cheese here, is because unlike the people who like Kinder Surprise eggs and who value the freedom to be able to eat and consume this French cheese, is that those of us who are gun owners, we decided to band together and say, no, we care about this freedom. You're not legislating us out of this freedom any more than you already have. We're tired. We're done. And we banded together. Had the people who enjoy their Kinder Surprise eggs or enjoy their French cheese banded together and said, no, you're not taking away this freedom, and fought for it, we might still be able to have that option to consume that French cheese, to buy those Kinder Surprise eggs. That's just reality, man.
Say, think about that, America. Think about why you're banning me from having a chocolate egg, which has a little toy in it. Why are you banning me from eating cheese, but you're quite happy I go and take an AR-15 off the wall and do what I like with it?
Wait.
All right, so let me spell this out for you, Piers. I don't think I know a single gun rights advocate that agrees with the ban on the Kinder Egg or the French cheese. I just don't. We, most part, think those bans are stupid too. I know I think those bans are stupid. Here's the thing. Like most gun rights advocates, I'm too busy defending my legal ability to keep this AR-15. Maybe if you talk to some of those people that wanted the Kinder Surprise egg legal and wanted the French cheese legal in this country, but yet wanted to restrict our legal ability to own AR-15s in this country, maybe if you talk to them and said, hey, maybe we should focus on getting the Kinder Surprise egg legalized and the French cheese legalized and stop worrying about what those guys have, and stopped worried about trying to ban these guys from having AR-15s, which is a freedom they value, and let's focus on restoring all the freedoms that we want. You might have them.
There's cheese that could kill you?
Yeah, bacterial threat. Well, it's French. I mean...
But the French have no problem eating this cheese.
No, I go to France. My wife's half French, and we guzzle French cheese all the time.
And do those people die in France?
Nobody dies from cheese in France.
Okay, and what's your point? Those of us who own AR-15s in this country, and there are millions of us that do, we're not dying, our friends aren't dying, our family members aren't dying, nobody's getting hurt. So what's your fucking problem?
Complete myth. But you do. A lot of people do. But here's my point: is that I think there's just so many ridiculous hypocrisies.
You are being a hypocrite. You're all butthurt that we banned cheese in this country. Well, at least the particular French cheese that you like. You're butthurt that that's banned in this country. You're butthurt that Kinder Surprise eggs are banned in this country, which is a freedom you happen to enjoy. You're butthurt that they're banned because somebody used the premise of, oh, well, we're just trying to make everybody safer. And then you're going to turn around and act just like these people who ban the Kinder Surprise egg, ban the French cheese, when it comes to our freedom in this country to own an AR-15. Get bent.
All that Americans did was accept that they were going to be regulated with guns in the same way they are with cars.
Thing, Piers. You're not being honest with that statement. You really don't want to just simply regulate firearms as you do cars. And let me give you some examples of some ways we could regulate firearms, just like we do cars, that would have you in a tizzy. Well, first thing would be is that there wouldn't be any age mandate before you could purchase a firearm. Just like with cars, there are no age restrictions in purchasing a car. You could purchase a car at 14 if you wanted to. I don't think you want that rule being applied to firearms. There is no prohibited class of car owners in this country. You could drive drunk, you could plow through a crowd of people, and you're still able to own a car. I don't think you would like it if somebody who just got out of prison for, say, mowing down a crowd of people with a machine gun was allowed to go back to the gun store and purchase a machine gun just like that, would you? Shall I continue? Sound suppressors, or those things you call silencers, would become mandatory with every new firearm purchase. Again, you'd be legally allowed now to purchase a post-1986 machine gun or assault rifle, even. They're put in the same category, NFA speaking. And you'd be able to do it just like you would a car, no background check, no prohibitions on whether you can own that or not. You can be 14 and purchase it. You want to get into licensing? Well, the licensing is to drive that car on public roads. And concealed carry licenses would be about the same, I would imagine. This is the apples to apples comparison when you're trying to account for all the factors. So in order now to get a concealed carry license, if we were to regulate guns like we do cars, you could just simply at the age of 18 walk into the DMV, take a 25-question test that's easy as hell, walk out the very same day with your concealed carry license, and it's going to be valid in all 50 states. You know, I know you guys are up in arms right now about concealed carry reciprocity. And by the way, you'd be able to get your concealed carry license at 16 with just a few additional stipulations. You know, that would also be good in all 50 states if we were to regulate firearms like we do cars. So, again, you're not being very genuine when you say this. In fact, let me translate what you really mean when you say, well, I just want to regulate firearms like cars. What you really mean to say is, I want to keep the restrictions we have on firearms already. I want to put some more arbitrary restrictions on there that, you know, really don't have anything to do with regulating firearms as if they were cars. And then I want to throw all the other restrictions you have on just getting a license and driving a car on a public road, put that to ownership of firearms, and pretend like you're regulating firearms just like cars. That's what you really mean.
It would be a massively safer country. So you are a very regulated nation. You love to...
Yes, and there are a lot of those regulations that should not be on the books. And for the legislatures that had a hand in putting them on the books, I think every single one of them should be kicked out of office. For those bureaucrats that use the power that they have to put those regulations on the book, I think they should be fired and never allowed to hold another government office ever again. You know? So, yeah, I think we should do away with those regulations and the legislators and officials that put those stupid regulations in place.
Talk about how free it is, but for me, coming to America, you are crippled by bureaucracy, crippled by lawyers, incredibly highly regulated.
And now, Piers, you are being dishonest. Your country is heavily regulated. You have a lot of bureaucracies. You have a bureaucracy every time you go to the doctor. You want to talk about stupid restrictions? Well, hey, in the UK, I cannot own a knife like this. Yeah, this is how bad it goes. You know, I mean, let's see. For this knife right here, I can't carry this on me in the UK like I do in the US every day. Hell, no matter how hard I try, I will never be able to legally own one of these as a private citizen in the UK. Even for a firearm like this, which would be legal in the UK, assuming you get your shotgun certificate, I think. You go and wait 6 months, and then you have to have a safe, and the police come in and inspect your home and everything like that. Then finally, we just might allow you to have a shotgun like that. Yeah. So don't tell me how free you guys are in the UK compared to the US and how it seemed like you were overwhelmed with regulation coming to the U.S. Yeah, I'll admit we have some stupid regulations and some regulations that are a little bit different than yours, but that doesn't mean that we are more regulated. And in fact, if you want to compare categories, we are overall much more free here in the U.S. than you are in the U.K. I know, I've been there.
And you suffer all sorts of laws which prohibit you doing all sorts of things. The only thing you don't want to accept is any sensible regulation on gun safety. I simply say, why? Why can't you just allow the same regulation methodology, if you like, to guns that you do for cars?
No, Piers, you're not talking about anything sensible or reasonable. You know, you've publicly said, ban the AR-15. That's not a sensible or reasonable gun safety law by any means. And then when I look at the BBC and they're interviewing people in their country, both firearm owners and non-firearm owners, and the non-firearm owners don't seem to think there's any legal way to get firearms in their country legally, to be able to own a firearm legally. They believe that firearms are totally banned in their country, and then they're interviewing the firearm owners, and the firearm owners is like, yeah, it's probably better that they don't know because we're afraid that if they do know and they start panicking and demanding more gun control regulations because they don't understand anything about firearms, that they're afraid that they're not going to have the votes to defeat it and keep what little freedom they still have. Yeah, that's pretty telling, Piers. And that's a pretty good reason for us here in the U.S. to continue to defend every little bit of firearm freedom we can. And yes, when it comes down to it, you guys may be able to have your Kinder Surprise eggs. I'm allowed to have my AR-15. I'm allowed to have a pistol. I'm allowed to have this knife. In fact, there are a lot of things here in this country that we are more free to do, aside from firearms, that you guys aren't so free to do. Let's talk about finances. You guys have a much higher income tax rate than we do. I can tell you that much. I know. You guys, gas, well, it costs 3 times as much as our gas. So yeah, I could have a 4-wheel drive and still be able to afford it. Whereas in the UK, the average person isn't able to afford something 4-wheel drive. There are a lot of things we can do in this country that you guys can't do in your country because your country is the nanny state there. You treat your adults like children. Here in the U.S., we don't put people in jail because they said something on Twitter that somebody else didn't like. You do that in your country. We don't do that in our country. So please, spare me your nonsense about how our firearm freedom is the only freedom we protect, 1. And 2, that your country is so much freer than ours because your country is so much less free than ours. Y'all, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night.